Salman here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you the last day of the 5th week of the Darkhorse Training Program by Brian Alsruhe. Like usual, I'll leave the links below for Brian Alsruhe's YouTube video where he explains the program and outlines exactly what to do in the program and the structure and how to execute the program on your own, as well as links to the Lift Vault website where they've taken out the hard work of building a spreadsheet, putting all of the information from the YouTube channel into a spreadsheet that you can use. It's a free Google Sheets that you download, plug in your own numbers, plug in your own movements, and away you go. So today's final day of the 5th week brings us some upper body pushing and pulling. I did get a new pair of farmer handles. You can watch the video. I'll leave a card or a link somewhere so you can check that review out of the Tartan farmer handle initial impressions. That being said, that was my first conditioning movement for today. We just did 4 rounds of farmer carries with the empty bar, just getting the blood flowing, getting that grip working, and new toys, so might as well use them, right? So today's workout consisted of pull-ups, the split press, some V-ups, and again, farmer handle walks, just because I have those available to me. Starting off with the pull-ups, it was prescribed to have some weighted pull-ups, so 12 to 15 reps. I was not feeling like I could achieve 15 reps. Ideally really wanted to hit 15 reps a day across, so we just did regular bodyweight pull-ups, and I think 4 sets at 15 reps is a new volume PR for me, or at least a PR for me, for 60 pull-ups in 4 sets. I don't think I've been able to string 15 pull-ups together before, at least to my knowledge, so that was great. I think that's a good win for me, getting that volume in the back working. And I'll throw it out there, I think pull-ups and chin-ups are probably a great undercover, underrated bicep movement. I would argue, you can argue in the comments below, definitely argue, if you can't do a single pull-up, you don't have any business doing a bicep curl. That's just my own opinion, and that's what I like to tell people. Just because that's how important building that back up, building that back strength up is. I think if you can't do a pull-up unassistedly, you should at least be doing as many lat pull downs and as many assisted pull-ups as you can until you can finally achieve at least a single unassisted pull-up, and that's when you can start adding in some arm work, because there's no point training isolated arm movements if you can't even pull your own body weight up. That's a huge glare and a hole in somebody's strength, I think. Anyway, back to the program. 15 reps of the pull-ups, I think that's great. No extra weight added, so there's that. Hopefully next week we can throw in some weight there, maybe 5 pounds, and see how we go. And today's main movement was the split press. We did that for a 5 rep max. Kept it pretty tame for today with the weight choices. We only hit a maximum weight of 155 pounds for those 5 reps. We did this beltless just because I felt like doing it beltless. I did have the wrist wraps on there. One thing to keep in mind with this type of movement, if you're doing any sort of clean movement, if you have a thick belt, like a standard typical powerlifting belt with like a buckle, or even the leather belts, like I have a leather belt, that's going to be really difficult to use if you're trying to clean the weight up, because you need to keep that barbell really close to your body, and those thick levers and buckles are going to get in the way. You're probably going to hit the buckle, or if you need to move the barbell away, now you're sacrificing form. So this is probably one of the few cases, if you do want to get into like Olympic style lifting, is where I would recommend you look at like the nylon belts, the nylon Velcro ones where they wrap around you. Alternatively, put the belt on backwards. But again, you're talking about, it's not that big of a difference in thickness. You're talking about like 10, 13 millimeters compared to something like 5 and under. So it doesn't sound like a big difference, but those few millimeters really matter when you're trying to clean that barbell up. You definitely don't want to hit anything on the way up, and you always want to keep that barbell as close to your torso as possible on the way up, so you're not losing any force, you're not throwing off any center of gravities, things of that nature. So it's probably one of the few times I'd recommend buying like a cheap belt from big box store. $20 gets you a nice nylon belt, and you probably only ever going to use that for Olympic movements and rowing. The only reason I would say rowing is when you row, you want to row to your stomach, and if you have a belt buckle there, you are decreasing that range of motion. When you could be hitting a nylon belt that's quite thin, you'd be stacking up against thick leather belt with a thick buckle. So something to think about. Don't have to invest in a huge, crazy, expensive Olympic-style weightlifting belt if you don't really want to, especially if you're doing these movements very sparingly. Again, look at where you're devoting most of your time to when you choose your equipment. if you're only going to be doing Olympic movements once every month, there's no need to buy a super expensive belt. You get the equipment that suits your situation perfectly. If you're going to be doing more powerlifting, strongman, then yes, get the belt that would suit that more so than Olympic weightlifting. So that felt good. It felt quite strong. I was just hesitant to pump the weights up anymore just because of my lack of experience with the movement itself, that dynamic nature of having to lunge underneath a weight. Again, my confidence under the barbell for this particular movement isn't really there. I do enjoy performing them. I just don't have the confidence, my ability to push this to failure. I really don't want to hit anywhere near that failure point with these movements. I'm just working on that dynamic nature of the movement and really working on making sure the abs are braced, and being able to hold that weight up above my head is as good of a stimulus as I'm kind of wanting to get out of it. Now, if you are obviously doing Olympic weightlifting, it's going to be a huge movement for you, but this is not the video that I am the best person to advise you about Olympic weightlifting, because I don't really perform any of those movements. Wrap that up with some V-ups and then some relatively light farm walk handles. We just did 140 pounds up and down the driveway. Nothing crazy. I was alternating between either spinning left or right or setting him down and setting him back up again. And that wraps that up. That wraps up the max effort. Now I'm moving on to volume. Just like the third day, I did drop out the last 2 sets of volume, so we did only get 1 set of volume in there. Busted out 10 unweighted pull-ups and 125 pounds for the split press, and we just did 10 reps of that. Again, with the split press, really not wanting to push my limits there, just wanting to stay within my capabilities and really not wanting to push and have to worry about bailing. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm worried about here, is because my press is relatively weak and I am outside of the rack. I really don't want to have to worry about bailing on a weight overhead. Just because I've never done that before. I haven't thrown a weight down in the garage from my overhead position straight to the floor. I don't know what's going to happen, and I really don't want to find out. I could possibly invest in some foam pads, but again, for a movement that I do very sparingly, I don't really see the need to do it. But again, your mileage may vary. If you're able to drop the weight, then hell yeah, experiment with how far you can push this weight. If you're able to drop weight, you're able to bail, you know how to bail. That's another thing. Practice bailing. I know it's saying practice to fail, but inevitably we all fail at some point or another, and at least you'll have some notion as to how you're going to bail under a heavy weight. You don't want to try and figure that out on the fly. You definitely want to have a game plan. You're either going to toss it back and jump forward, or toss it forward and jump back. You have no debris on the floor. Just remember, safety first. Everybody, you don't want to die under a barbell. You don't want to break anything under a barbell either. So keep that in mind when you're doing these explosive Olympic dynamic movements, just so you have safety first in mind. From there, we do move on to our dynamic effort movement for the day, which was the bench press with the medium grip. I've shifted my bench pressing style to medium grip, and it seems to have alleviated any shoulder issues I've been having. I've also eliminated heavy low bar back squats, so anything heavy currently for the last month and a half has just been with the SS yoke bar, and for the regular low bar back squat, they've been relatively lightweights because we're doing that dynamic effort. So those two combined together, I think, is helping a lot with the shoulder issues. And again, because I am not planning on competing in a powerlifting meet, there is less reason for me to perform heavy low bar back squats if I can get away with doing heavy SS yoke bar squats or heavy front squats or heavy literally any other type of squats, because it's not a movement that I need to worry about performing in and of itself for the sole purpose of performing a squat to get better at a squat. Same goes with the bench press. I don't need to worry about taking full advantage of competitive leverages for the super wide bench press grip, because I don't need to perform a competition style bench press at a powerlifting meet, so I can opt in to do the movement at the most comfortable spot and the position that causes the least amount of pain for me, which is medium grip. I still have the arch, I still have the leg drive, I'm still doing all the stuff that a regular competition bench press would entail, just without that super wide grip where the pinkies are out on the outer powerlifting rings. In my grip width right now is really just my the crease of my thumb or the tip of my thumb on where the knurling meets the smooth part of the barbell. That's as far out as I go. It's pretty much just wider than shoulder width. And I'm still tucking my elbows in, still driving my traps into the bar pad. All that good stuff is still there. So the form is still there. The mechanics are still there. We just narrowed in that grip. And this seems to have alleviated any of those shoulder issues. So I'm really stoked with that because it means I'm able to bench press more. And I'm also able to bench press quite fast. There's no, with that style, with the lighter weight, the bar is moving quite good. I think the speed is there, which I think is great, something that wasn't there before. Previously, when the weight got heavy, I would have a really, really slow descent. But now that's kind of sped up a little bit. And I think my body's catching up and I'm adapting to this style of bench pressing, which I think is great. And that goes to me saying, again, if your profession doesn't require you to do a certain movement and your hobby pursuits don't require you to do a certain movement, there's really no reason to do specific movements because everything is arbitrary. Everything's arbitrary, everything's made up, nothing matters. So do whatever you can do that allows you to keep exercising and keep moving. If all you could do right now is a leg press, then by all means, just leg press, because leg pressing is better than doing nothing. Movement is better than non-movement. So whatever it is that gets you to move, whatever you enjoy doing, whatever style of lifting you enjoy, that's what you should be doing, because if that's going to get you to work out and to move and to, that's the difference between you doing something and not doing anything, do it, because that benefit, the benefit of you moving is going to be far greater than the benefit of you not doing anything, because you can't do a low bar back squat, or you can't do a wide grip bench press, or you can't do a standing overhead press. If all you can do are machine weights, if all you can do is body weight, you can just do push-ups and bodyweight squats, then that's great, because that's the key. That's all you should be doing. If that's all you're capable of doing, it's better than doing nothing, because all the arguments about all that are very... When we get to these arguments about what's better, low bar back squat or a high bar back squat or even a front squat, let's throw that in there. The arguments are there because it's talking about getting percentages better upon someone that's already performing at a high level. If you're going from 0 to 10, that's a huge difference. It's better than going from 90 to 100. When you go to 90 to 100, that's when small differences matter. When you're going to 0 to 10, nothing really matters at that point. You're going from nothing to something, and doing something is better than doing nothing, obviously. That's what I'm trying to say here. So keep that in mind when you're looking at programs, looking at movements, you're looking at what's better than this, and that. Find what suits your body style, first of all. Find out what causes pain, what doesn't cause pain, what doesn't cause discomfort, and what you enjoy. And do that until you can do some more. That's really the end of it. Do something until you can do more, and when you can do more, keep doing that until you do more again, and just keep repeating until you're a better person. Like usual, I'll leave a playlist here for the Darkhorse training program vlog series so you can catch up on my training so far, as well as keep up to date with what's going to happen in the future and my overall rating and review of the program. This has been Selman from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.